Head over to BoardGamePrices.com to find the best price on these Gencon releases and thousands of other games. Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Gencon is coming up very soon, next week from when this video releases. So this video is going to be my top 10 already played games at Gencon that are releasing there. Now I already put out earlier this week the top 10 most anticipated games that are releasing at Gencon. And those are ones that are that I haven't yet played, but I'm really excited about, and that came out earlier this week. I'll put the link in the description in the video below so you can check that. Now, a couple of things about this list is these are all games that are going to be for sale there, and most of these I've done videos on, and so I'm going to explain them in my sort of 1-minute overview that I use during my 2-minute quick Allegro reviews. So let's get started.
Number 10.
All right, the first one I want to talk about is a little roll and write game. It's going to be at the blue-orange booth. It's called King Domino Duel, and it's based off of the original King Domino game. So let me show you how it works. King Domino Duel is a 2-player roll and write game where each player is going to be filling in their score sheet, but over the course of the game, you're going to be rolling and drafting these big chunky dice. Now what you're trying to do is create kingdoms that are adjacent to each other with the same coat of arms, and also get a lot of crosses in those, because your points are going to be the amount of these next to each other times the amount of crosses there. Now a player will be rolling the dice, and the first player will select a die. The other player will then get to select any 2 of them, and then the start player is left with this one. That's how the drafting works. And then you'll build a domino in any direction and draw it on your sheet, but you must match one of these up with something that's already there, or put it next to your castle. Like in this case, I put it in this orientation in here because this matched this. And sometimes you'll be taking dice without those crosses that give you points, and you'll be able to move up different tracks that allow you to possibly, once filled out, use a one-time special ability that is no longer available to your opponent. And you're alternating turns, drafting those dice, adding them to your kingdom, and trying to get large areas and lots of crosses to get big points in the end. So if you're looking for that quick roll and write game that has, it's a great 2-player duel game that, has some interesting things spatially, both with the dice, the way that you take the dice, the sort of back and forth, and the special abilities and things like that. It's going to be at the Blue Orange Games booth, number 1813, and it's going to be about $13.
Number 9.
The next one is Detective Club. This also is going to be at the Blue Orange Games booth. This actually came out last year in Europe, but it is coming to North America through Blue Orange Games. Let me show you a little bit about it. Detective Club is a party game for 4 to 8 players, which uses original, unique, beautiful artwork for you to play cards to describe different words. Each round, one player will come up with a secret word that everyone will know except one player. That player is the conspirator. One card at a time, players will be playing cards that most represent that word, but remember, one player doesn't know it. And after everyone's played 2 cards, the word is revealed and players go around explaining why their cards match that word. Then players will vote as to which player they think was the one that didn't know the word and was the conspirator. For example, which pair of cards here do you think that player did not know that the word was beach? And if the conspirator gets enough votes, they're caught and the players that voted for them score points. Otherwise, the conspirator gains points if they're not caught, so does the active player that came up with the word. Detective Club blends creative card play along with social deduction and hidden identity elements to make this a great family game. So yeah, this is that sort of mix between, say, Dixit and Spyfall. It is a fun party game. If you get this game, make sure you play it with the app. It makes it a lot easier for players to see if they're right or wrong and things like that. But it is a really fun party game if you like sort of that social aspect of trying to figure out who's the one that doesn't belong in that regard. So this is going to be at the Blue Orange Games booth, number 1813, and this is going to be $35.
Number 8.
The next one is called Silver. This is Bezier's Games' biggest Gen Con release. And so let me just show you a little bit about how this game works. Silver is a fast and engaging traditional card game with a werewolf twist. Your village has been overrun by savage werewolves, which are represented by the numbers on the cards that make up your village. You're trying to have the least amount of those werewolves in your village at the end of each round, and you'll do so by exchanging cards in your village with new ones that attract less werewolves, and by gathering and removing sets of identical cards. But it's not as easy as it seems because the residents in your village start face down and you only get to see 2 of your 5 cards at the beginning of the round. So you'll be exploring and learning about your village as the game goes on and utilizing the special abilities of your residents to help you. When you think you have the fewest werewolves, you'll call for a vote, but be careful, everyone else gets one more turn to save their own village first. And if you succeed, you'll get the powerful secret weapon, the Silver Amulet, to use the next round protecting one of your cards from werewolves and other players. The box contains an amazing game trays insert that organizes the cards and has a pocket for the Silver Amulet and score pad. Silver is for 2 to 4 players and is the first in a series of Silver games, each with all new cards and abilities. Silver Bullet will be out in Q4 of 2019, and all new Silver games can be played on their own or combined with other Silver games. All right, well, there is Silver, simple mechanisms, fun little card game, trying to explore your village, trying to get your numbers the lowest, trying to mess with other players' cards, trying to sort of press your luck as to when you think you're right and have the lowest numbers and things like that. And I like how it's sort of based off that old game Golf and also a newer game that Bezier brought back called Cabo. This is going to be at booth number 541 and it's going to be $25.
Number 7.
The next one is called Tribes: Dawn of Humanity. This is a quick civilization game that is basically played in about 40 minutes. It's coming out from Cosmos. And wow, this game was very impressive to me because I don't typically like civilization games, but this one was very streamlined. Turns were so quick. Has a really interesting mechanism how you select your actions, a sort of a sliding action tile line, and you're basically paying currency the further you want to go to get the action you want. That's a mechanism I always like. But then you're just, it's pretty simple where you're trying to just procreate, make more members, and then you're trying to explore new tiles, and then you're trying to use members, on those tiles to get your resources and move up different tracks. It's the most streamlined civilization game I've ever played, and it is excellent. If you're looking for that sort of quick game that still has a lot of depth, it's very puzzly, but it's really fun. I mean, and there's the different randomness as well for the setup, so the game has some replayability there. But the whole action selection thing, how quick the turns move, everything like that, this game is one to check out, and that's Tribes: Dawn of Humanity. It's going to be the Cosmos booth, number 1649, and it's going to be $50. The Board Game Geek link says that you can pre-order it on their site for $43.
Number 6.
The next one is called Bosque, and this is from Floodgate Games. This is, as you can see, a gorgeous looking game about leaves falling off trees. Let me show you how this one works. Bosque is a 2 to 4 player strategy game where each player is going to be planting trees of their own color throughout the first half of the game and then having the wind blow those leaves for area control in the second half of the game. The game's played over 4 seasons. During spring, players are going to be placing trees out into intersections that will help set up scoring and the strategy for the second half of the game. Once all the trees are out, in summer you'll score each column and row by adding up the numbers of the trees, and first and second place of those numbers will be getting points. Then in the second half of the game, wind is going to be blowing in different directions depending on the round, and they're going to be blowing from specific trees on the board. So you'll be selecting a specific number of leaves to place in the direction of the wind, trying to control these different areas for area control. And at that point, whoever has the most points is the winner. So yeah, I've really liked this game. It's just a beautiful game. It looks amazing on the table. It's got those 2 halves to it, which is really interesting, setting yourself up for the second half or trying to score points in the first half, and the whole thematic way of making those leaves fall, and that you can only use each number once, so it really is a brain burn as the game gets down. Your options limit, and you really got to think hard. It is an excellent, pretty quick area control game that plays in about 45 minutes. This is going to be at Floodgate Games booth. Number 249 is the booth, and it's going to be $45.
Number 5.
The next one is a 2-player card-driven game from Capstone. It's a historical game about Nixon and Watergate. It is called Watergate. Now in this game, it is a 2-player game where the Nixon player is trying to get basically enough momentum to get reelected, and the other player plays the editor where they're trying to basically get evidence linking to Nixon to impeach him. And it's a game where you play back cards back and forth with each other. It's played over multiple rounds. but each player has sort of their own set of cards that they'll use, and these cards can be used to be moving evidence up and down a track that you can possibly place on the board, or gaining momentum, which is what Nixon wants. But you can also play them for powerful events, and if they're really powerful, those cards go out of the game for good, and it's this hand management aspect, because once you go through your deck, you can shuffle your deck back, but not the ones that you've used that are super powerful. Think of like, if you've ever played 1960 Making of the President or Twilight Struggle, card-driven games like that, it's like that, but this game is only about 30 to 40 minutes. It's much quicker than those, but it's got a lot of depth in there and it has that sort of card-driven feel. It's definitely a lot of fun. This is going to be at Capstone Games booth number 457, and it's going to sell for $35.
Number 4.
The next one is Imhotep the Duel. Now, Imhotep itself was a board game that was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres a few years ago, and this is a 2-player sort of implementation, a standalone game of this. So let me show you how this one works. Imhotep the Duel is a 2-player duel where each player is going to be building a pyramid, a tomb, an obelisk, and a temple with different tiles through tactical gameplay. Players will be placing their meeples out on this 3x3 grid to try to line themselves up, or they'll be unloading the boats, getting the goods from each of the meeples that is in that area. And each tile that a player gets will go in the respective spots in their player boards. Boats will then get refilled and play will continue. There's also special tiles that will allow you to sort of break the rules of the game for your turn. And at the end of the game, each of these will score differently, like having the highest one and getting points for each of them, or getting set collection for each of the pyramids, counting all the circles, or trying to get groups of sets together for big points. But each of these has a B side that you can turn to and mix and match with some A's and some B's for great replayability. Yeah, this one's very impressive. It's a quick game, it's a filler game, but it's very sort of abstracted, but it's very puzzly. It has a lot of sort of tug of wars going on, looking at what your opponent's going for and screwing their plans up, but yet still trying to make yours. The double-sided boards makes every game sort of different. You can play which sides of each, the pyramids, the obelisks, and things like that, a lot of replayability. And the puzzling nature of this game is really cool. This is a fantastic quick 2-player game coming from Cosmos, booth number 1649. It retails for $20, but I think they have a pre-order on the Board Game Geek Gencon page for $17.
Number 3.
The next one is called Quirky Circuits. This is coming from Plaid Hat Games. I got a chance to play this at Origins. The best way I can explain this is it's as if the game called The Mind and Bomb Squad had a baby. The Mind, because you are cooperatively playing cards face down in order, trying to program these sort of quirky circuits robots to move around a board and fulfill a scenario, and after you're done playing them, you'll flip them all up and certain things will happen. Now you can tell, for the most part, what the card does in general, whether it's moving straight or turning, but you won't know how far moving straight or which way it's turning. You just kind of have to like play off each other and see where you are on the board and try to, almost like playing The Mind, but on a bigger game, and I loved it. And it's like Bomb Squad because it has many different scenarios. They get harder as the game goes on, so you're trying to finish certain things, and that part reminds me of Bomb Squad. This game was so fun. I cannot wait to play this again. As you get to the harder levels, some cards that you have in your hand, you have to play first before all your other cards, so you got to find the right time to play them. Oh man, this thing was a ton of fun. Can't wait to play more of this from Plaid Hat Games. It's going to be at booth number 823, and it's going to be $50.
Number 2.
The next one is called Point Salad. This is a card game put out by AEG. It is a drafting card game. Beautiful artwork. Let me show you how this one works. Point Salad is a card drafting and set collection game for 2 to 6 players. We're going to be trying to draft and collect different sets of vegetables and trying to also draft how you're actually going to score that game, like having sets of onions the most and all sorts of other ways to score. Turns are simple. You're either taking 2 vegetables or you're taking one of the 3 face-up point cards. Let's say I like peppers. I'm going to take both of those, start a set. This would refill for the next player, and look at this. I have 2 of the 3 that I need for a set for 8 points. Will I be able to take this on my turn, or will somebody deny it from me by taking it for themselves? Or even more mischievous, maybe they take a card from here and here, so it absolutely kills that point card, and that card is now a vegetable. And each point card also tells you what vegetables on the back side, so if you take this, once per round you can flip over any of your point cards and add it to your vegetables. And at the end of the game, everyone's adding up their point cards that they took with all the vegetables. Like here, we went in with a heavy lettuce strategy. But I was also able to supplement that with other vegetables and the scoring types that match those well. All right, this game really blew me away this year. This is going to be in the running for Family Game of the Year / Card Game of the Year for me. It's going to probably be on both of those short lists at the end of the year. It's so simple. Take a scoring card or take 2 vegetables. That's it. But there's so much depth. There's so much messing around with other players. There's so much like, oh, they want that point card, I'll take it. Or, you know what, I'll take these vegetables that are under that one so they don't get to take that point card. And every game's different because you're making your own game how you score each game. It's so fun. Great little filler game. Point Salad from AEG. Now they have 2 booths, so it's either it might be at both of these or one of the other, booth 701 and 803. And it's going to be about $20.
Number 1.
And my number 1 is Detective City of Angels by Van Ryder Games. It has Vincent Dutray art. It is gorgeous. Let me show you a little bit how this one works. Detective City of Angels is a game of mystery, deception, and investigation for 1 to 5 players, where most of you will be detectives trying to be the first one to solve one of many different cases. You'll be moving around Los Angeles in the 1940s, and you'll be searching different locations, or suspects, or even questioning them. But one player plays as the Chisel, and they only win if none of the detectives solve the case. And that Chisel will be looking at a grid of different possible responses and placing one secretly so the detective can read it. And if it's a lie or misdirection, the detective can challenge, and if they're correct, they'll gain leverage over a suspect, making them be able to tell the truth in a future questioning. But if the Chisel was wrongly challenged by the detective, the Chisel gains leverage over that detective, giving the Chisel the upper hand on future questioning from that detective. Players will be spending actions off their turn and possibly even bribing snitches to listen in to other players' responses. You can also play a 1 to 5 player version with a sleuth casebook, or a head-to-head version where all the detectives work cooperatively together against the Chisel. Yeah, this is one of those detective games that you don't want to miss. It's very unique. It's done things that I haven't seen in any other games. That whole Chisel thing where you're questioning these characters. The Chisel's giving an answer, and maybe not. You want to challenge them to get leverage to make sure they tell the truth later. But then other detectives can listen in on what your answer is, possibly if they have enough money to bribe. Also, when other players get evidence that only they can see, you can also spend money to bribe to get that evidence earlier than other players. It just has a lot of really interesting things going on. Now, they're going to have a very limited amount here at Gencon. They're going to sell out every day very quickly. They only have 75 copies per day. You're going to want to run to this booth to try to get one of these. Booth number 3057, Van Ryder Games. It's going to be $90. They're also going to have a very limited supply of expansions, which is going to be $40. Now, after this, there's going to be maybe a couple hundred copies left from the print run that will be available on their website, but then it's going to be gone. And then it might come on Kickstarter, I believe, a little bit later in September for some more expansions and the base game. But Gen Con's going to be your best chance to get this, but you're going to need to run for it. And that's Detective City of Angels from Van Ryder Games. Well, I hope this helped you learn about some games that you didn't know about, or learn some more about games that you had heard about. Now also, again, if you hadn't seen my other video about top 10 most anticipated releases that I haven't played yet from Gen Con, click the link below for that. This has been the Game Boy Geek, breaking down barriers, growing relationships through board games by helping you find the next one you'll love. Did you miss the Game Topper 2.0 Kickstarter? Have no fear, it's not too late to get in on the ultimate gaming accessory. Convert your table into a high-quality gaming table with a fully portable Game Topper system and take advantage of some of the best 3mm premium gaming mats in the industry. New styles, new sizes, and new accessories can be yours. Upgrade every game you play by late backing now at GameToppersLLC.com.